You know, I really didn't want to make this video since this is a comedy channel and putting a serious video talking about serious issues on it would be kind of unfitting for it. But I feel like in these times when the issues hit so close to home and they're so serious, I feel like I need to make this video. First of all, I want to start off by saying that I am firmly against the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine by Russia. I do not want this war. I never wanted this war. I always realized that a war between Russia and Ukraine would be, from a humanitarian, tactical, and economic standpoint, a complete fucking disaster. What I'm most worried about in this situation are the Ukrainians. They are definitely suffering the hardest out of anyone in this conflict, and the things that they have to go through are fucking disgusting. Like, imagine you're a Ukrainian, you wake up at 4 a.m. to blasts from the outside. You exit your house, and the next thing you know, your entire house is torn down by a fucking enemy artillery shell. All the while thinking that if those blasts hadn't woken you up, you would be already in the ground. And I mean, this is horrible. Like, people are literally sleeping in metros to save themselves from bombings in Kiev. Innocent children in kindergartens are getting bombed and killed, and innocent civilians are getting shot at. Entire villages, thousands of people's livelihoods, are literally being demolished by artillery shells. It is completely fucking insane. On top of that, if you fortunately had time to leave the country, you would most likely have to go to Romania, where you would have to sleep in immigrant houses and where they don't speak your language. And that is fucking gruesome. Where it gets even sadder is that a lot of Russians have family in Ukraine, whether it is of the large amount of ethnic Russians living in the area or the Ukrainians. And they have a giant chance of dying in the crossfire. This is actually the reason why a lot of Russian militants refuse to participate in the invasion, because they know they'll be hurting their literal cousins. What I'm also very sad about is that Russians and Ukrainians are brotherly peoples. I mean, we have similar culture, similar values. When I speak with a Ukrainian person, I can understand them way better than, say, a French or German person, even if I'm speaking in English, because our cultures are very similar. I mean, in essence, these countries should be best friends. Big trading partners. There should be open borders between these two. And yet there's war, and I'm really sad and depressed about this. Another thing that I'm concerned about are the Russians living in Russia. I have a family in Russia, and they will also be negatively affected by the war, although not nearly as much as the Ukrainians. First of all, war means that the ruble is going to fall, which means that people are going to start earning less while everything costs the same or more. Or as it will be apparent to the people in Russia, they will be making the same, but everything will cost more or much more. On top of that, unemployment is going to go up, which means a lot of people will be literally left on the street, because in Russia there's no social security if you get fired from your job. And unless you don't have a supportive family, then yeah, you're fucked. And Russia will become much more poorer as a result of this. Which means that all the problems that plague Russia now, like the lack of social security, the lack of democracy, the underpayment of social workers like teachers and doctors, will only intensify. Which means I'll forever hate my country for being underdeveloped and not like the European countries, like I always did, which makes me really sad. And that is why this war is completely pointless. Even if the best case scenario happens for the Russian government and Ukraine gets annexed or something, the Russian people will become poorer and unhappier. And Russia will continue to spiral down, and it will become a third world country instead of a second world country. And one last thought, that I am embarrassed at my country. In 100 years, when they will tell this story, there will be a hero and a villain, and Ukraine will obviously be the hero. I mean, the fact that the literal president of Ukraine, which is Russia's #1 target right now, is refusing to leave Kiev, his soldiers, his citizens, and is now fighting side by side with them against the Russian invasion, is literally the stuff of legends and fairy tales. It really shows how much of an honorable person he is, and how much of an amazing leader he is. Infinite respect to him. And the way the Ukrainians act right now is of utmost honor as well. I mean, I hear stories of successful Ukrainian lawyers leaving Luxembourg in their successful life to fight for their country. I mean, this is incredible. And the villain will be Russia, with the government unprovokingly invading Ukraine and causing war and suffering. I'm almost always proud of my country, even if it's sometimes shit. Like, it's my country and it has a rich culture and history. But this war has kind of made me hate being a Russian. I also want to say thank you to the Russian protesters that are protesting in Russia right now against war. Your bravery is outstanding. And by doing this, you're not only supporting the Ukrainians, but you're also supporting the Russians abroad by making the Western countries see that literally no Russian in their right mind will want this war. Thank you. Нет войне.